Okay, let's go. Happy Friday. This is my first bracket video. This has got the winner of this competition. The earphones is going to go to the person that comments below this video, and I'm not sure which one's going to be because I'm doing this kind of off the top of my head. I don't have any scripts, as you can see in front of me. I'm just going to go with the flow. It might be semi-long. We'll try to make it as fast as possible, but I got to talk about each set and why I think one's better than the other. We've got on one side just regular sets and that they were released by companies, and on the right side we've got all collaborations. I separated them on purpose because I think it's more interesting that way. The The Origin, the Mystic 8, the Fearless Dawn, and the Jupiter have been given double bye weeks, which means that they're not going to start at the beginning because they might just run their way all the way to the end, which would not be very interesting. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but that could happen, so try not to do that. I'm going to do future bracket videos, and I'm going to do 2010 to 2020. Lots of older sets that you may not be familiar with, but people talk about when they say like this set used to be really good or it's still really good. And then I'm going to take some of the winners from that, like the top 6, and I'm going to put them against the winners of a bracket of from 2020 to 2025 and compare older to newer and see how much, including my bias factored in, the new stuff is actually really better than the old stuff. We'll discuss that. We'll also do another set for budget. And then we're going to do a Summit Phi battle between China, Hong Kong versus the world, Singapore, America, Europe, and do that on either side of the bracket. Now, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. I'm going to go ahead and screenshot this, which is, I think it's Windows Alt R. There we go. Bam. That'll work. Okay, now we're recording. Let's go ahead and start at the top. Let's start at the bottom. The SE6 EST is SA6 with the EST, and it's got branded drivers. I don't know why they didn't give Timmy with his DaVinci branded BAs, but they did with the SA6 EST. And also the Night Oblivion is a branded driver set. I don't know why the EST exists, and I don't really think it's one of the... I'm not a fan of the set, actually, and I am a fan of the Night Oblivion, so I'm going to go ahead and tell the SE6, you've been knocked the fuck out. And the Night Oblivion, which had a lot of other stuff going on with it, like how it came about, etc., etc., which is just a bunch of crap. I won't let take away from the fact that the Night Oblivion is a good set. So, SE6, you're out of here. Night Oblivion, you are moving on. Going up to the top, the Zen's T Pro versus the D6-2. The D6-2 is a set that contains drivers that cost like $1 when they're bought in bulk. It's a very poor set, and it has been knocked. It's probably the worst set on this entire bracket. I really can't believe people didn't come out and say, "Come on, that's too much. That's a $50 set." And there's other $50 sets that are better than that. Zen's T Pro easily moves along. I'm going to stay on this side and get all the way to the end, and then I'm going to do the other. The Affle 5+2 is a company that has a lot of innovation. They're using stuff that, like the Helmholtz resonator and stuff like that. It's not new, but a lot of people, they don't incorporate it. So they're R&D, or they're just using other R&D, I don't know, but they are kind of clever. But they're not using branded drivers, and again, these are like the $2 drivers when you buy them in bulk, or even cheaper, versus Soft Ears Volume S, which is not much different in a lot of ways, and their promotion is it's not a 2DD driver, first of all, but it is a good sounding driver. And the more that I look into the BAs that they use, the more I'm getting disappointed. But it's a better set than the Affle, so you've been knocked out. You're out of there. The Kiwi Ears KE4, the IO Volare. Kiwi Ears KE4 is a set that's literally been said, it's great tuning, but it's held back by its drivers. Which, if you think for just a second, is kind of, what I'm talking about literally. Drivers matter. Tuning is like are you optimizing or are you leaning towards people's preferences? But if you don't think drivers are that important, you really need to pay attention to what people are saying in their videos when they talk about why something might be good into the visual, like the graph, but on the listening, it's not that great. It's the drivers. It's everything. Dio Velar, I believe, is probably not using branded drivers. I like the Kiwi Ears KE4 anyway. I'm going to go ahead and move that forward. There's bias here. There will be a lot of bias with the collabs. I don't apologize, and I point out that every video done by everybody in this hobby that is 99%, when it comes to IEMs, subjective, there's bias all the time. And you should always consider that. The Puller PA02, I think, was tuned well versus the SimGot Super Mix, which is using 4 different types of drivers. Considering they did that, how well they tuned it, and how hard it is to actually pick out that there are 4 different types of transducers with their own different characteristics and characters and timbre. It's a better set than the Puller PA02, which is another Hi-Fi Go special Trust Us Bro type of set. If you like it, you like it. That's fine. I think it sounds like garbage. And you've been knocked out. Going up to a kind of legacy. Remember, I'm going to be doing a video bracket for a lot of old sets that are famous, but I stuck one in here. And that is the S8, which I love, and the Sony XPA Z5, which a lot of you may not be familiar with. And I listened to these two recently, and the tweeter, the super tweeter on the Sony, the magnesium one, is really good. And I'm going to go ahead and move that forward. And it's got a 16mm LCP, which is a legit, actual, very good driver. The Sony's a good set. The High Senior Mega 5, which was like a new darling that came along because somebody said that it was a mini Storm, which I guess. I think the Storm is probably the most overhyped set on the market right now. But people like what they like. The 7th Acoustic Supernova was that hype before that hype. So, High Senior Mega 5, you've been knocked out. You're out of here. I'm going to take what was really the better set, the 7th Acoustic Supernova, and go ahead and move it forward. And then the final one in the first round is going to be the Odyssey, which I forgot about, and I've added it, versus the Moondart B3. I'm not a fan of the B3, and that my video record shows that, so you can go take a look at that. And we move forward like that. Now, start at the bottom. The volume, Softy's Volume S and the Night Oblivion. I'm going to go with the Night Oblivion again. This is a really good set. This was something that this might be the first surprise of the night for a lot of people. It's not a 2 dynamic driver. The BAs are, there's a camp saying that they're excellent. I think that they're good and they should be highlighted. I know for a fact that they're quite cheap. Night Oblivion's got branded drivers. It's got good drivers. It sounds good to me. I'm going to go with that one. The Zen's Teep, so now it's going to be in competition with the Mystic 8. The Zigat Odyssey and the Super Mix, I'm going to go with what is one of the better releases for your dollar of 2024, the Odyssey. So it'll be the Odyssey versus Mystic 8 versus the Night Oblivion. Now, Zen's T Pro, Kiwi Ears KE4, big fan of the Zen's T Pro. Move that. Kiwi Ears, you got knocked out.
You got knocked the fuck out.
Sony XPA Z5 versus 7th Acoustic Supernova. I'm going to go with the Sony here. The fit, this would be so easy, but the fit is really hard. But it's more exciting for my library. The 7th Acoustic Supernova is a very polite set. Now, the Zen's T Pro, Thea Origin, or the Sony XPA Z5, I'm going to go with the Quadbrid, which also happens to be tuned a lot like my preference. So Sony and Zen's, you've been knocked out. Night Oblivion, Mystic 8, Zigat Odyssey. If I pick the Mystic 8, I'm really captured by the moment. I'm gonna go with the Night Oblivion, actually. if you know, you know. It's a very, very nice sounding set. Its problems are not with the tuning, and the playback is really good. And now between the Thea Origin and the Oblivion, I'm going to go with the Origin. So from this bracket, the champion would be the Thea Origin. You might have saw that coming. I don't think you saw the Night Oblivion coming to the very end. Now let's get over to it. You might be more interested. That only took 8 minutes, so let's keep going. These are mostly my collabs here, and then these are others. And I've got the Jupiter and the Fearless Dawn. The Singolo, which had a resonator, and versus the Arcadia, which is mine, which I think is probably one of the better collabs for the price that you can get out of my collection. There's a lot of bias here, but I would actually take the Zigat over the Singolo. There are price differences, but there's not so many collabs that I can sit down. I'm not taking some of the garbage stuff by me or Crin or anybody else that turned out to be not quite what was anticipated. So Singolo, you can get out of here. Rinko and Deuce. This is an interesting little bracket because both of these are total shit shows in their own way. The Deuce, you know, the Rinko you don't, and in some ways the Rinko was a worse offender in what you've been told and what the reality is. And I happen to be fortunate enough to have all of that info. Move the Deuce forward. I think Deuce would have lost out to everything else on here, but it hit the Rinko. So Rinko, you've been knocked the fuck out. The Arete by Fresh Reviews, and the Chopin. Chopin happens to be my favorite Timmy collab. I like the way that it sounds. It plays back my library well, so I'm going to go ahead and move that forward. The Arete is good, but it's polite. It's not really aimed at me as far as the target goes. The B2 Dusk and the Estrella. The Estrella is a energetic V for me. People said, "Oh, your mic," a bunch of other that became wild. But it's a better set than the Dusk B2 because I just simply don't like that set, and I never listened to it beyond when I did a review for it. The Galileo with a punch. That's not really fair because it's a rolled off set versus a set with ESTs. It's a tribrid, and I'm listening to Dodie 6's verse, which is dope. So the Kiwi Ears moves forward. Down on the bottom, we've got the Dusk versus the SA6 Zeos, another SA6, which had, I think, even less ear gain and more bass, which was just going in the total. Take the weakest part of the tuning and then amplify it. Yeah, no. And the Dusk in DSP form is an excellent set, so I'm going to move that forward. And now we get to Da Vinci and the Let's Shore, which is another Zeos collab. And this was an S12 with just a little bit more bass. This was kind of like, I won't get into it. The Da Vinci's a better set. This set has its own issues, actually. Syrup is the word I'd use, but it's a better set than the Z12. So then one more, the Olina SE, which is really a Tanstrom 02, versus a Belon that doesn't really fit me that good. And is, yeah, I'll take the set that was 30% of what it was based on, using the same engine and the same material outside. And point out that it was like the first one really brought out, like, there's a lot of emotions with reviewers when they start to talk about stuff, more than there really should be, and they don't disclose it. So this was fun to watch. So now we are moving along with this, the Zigat Arcadia or the Deuce. I'm going to say the Arcadia. That was actually easy. The Deuce is a set that was intended to not be redundant to the rest of the Maestro series, and that's it. It's a 2DD set. It's got its limits. It came out the way that I wanted in the tuning. The Chopin or the Estrella. I'm going to sew it to Chopin. If it fits, which I have to adjust, it's more to my liking than the Estrella, which is a little bit energetic. I can see why people like that. I think a lot of time collabs are kind of nut hugging, and a lot of drama came around with the Estrella, and I think that was unfortunate. The Da Vinci and the Dusk. This is the Sensei versus or Senpai and Kohai actually going on right here. And I will say that the Dusk in DSP form is the better set than the Da Vinci. The Da Vinci is, I think, syrup, and it's got a roughness in the treble that myself, Resolve, and several other people picked out. I think Mark at Superviews picked it out as well. I'm going to say that's directly related to driver quality because there's no other reason. The amplitude of that, it's not overly boosted. If they had put the same quality drivers that they did in the SA6 EST, Adunu, into the Da Vinci and done him some justice, that might have come out even better than what it came out as. The Punch or the Alina SE, it's a tribrid. Enough said. It's built for bass heads. It's advertised that way. And then here we go. And so now we've got a three-way between the Arcadia, the Jupiter, and the Kiwi Ears Punch. And this is really a super easy one. It's going to be the Jupiter. I'm going to duplicate, and I'm going to move this over to here. So this is going to be a finalist. And then we've got the Dusk, the Fearless Dawn, and the Chopin. This is a really easy one too, and this is why these were placed where they are. The Fearless Dawn is the best that Crin's done. Let me go ahead and change the color of this. It's really not even close, and it's kind of wild that there's people that are waiting for a set that's in the $2,000 range or $1,500, and they're just not looking at the Dawn because it's a couple of 4 years old. It's all branded drivers. It's tuned with the Y2K rig, which I have under my table. I have my own version, or it's the same thing that Crin's got. It's one of the better sets out there that's above $2,000 to this day. So that's why that Summit 5 video is going to be interesting, or the old versus new. Jupiter versus Dawn. The Jupiter was tuned by me, and it was tuned and inspired by a couple other sets, and I wanted a lot of good strong bass, but I wanted clean mids, and I wanted an ear gain that didn't get loud when I turned it up. So I wanted what we call a lot of headroom, and that's something that I like. Something like Mike B is a fan of. A lot of people that listen to music for long periods of time, like they really love music and it's around them all the time, that's the kind of set that you listen to. People that listen to sets for 30 minutes and they're like, I got another thing to do. That's really not how I listen or what I want to tune for the most part. The Jupiter is an epic set. There's people on certain places that kind of shoo it off to the side. I think reflects more on them and their bias than just listening to a set. If you're going to say something like the Subtonic Storm without looking at it, because I've opened it up, and it's tuning, and say that it's some kind of best in the game, and then the Jupiter's like not quite near that. Yeah, I think you're kind of showing your ass a little bit. It's one thing to say, okay, I'm not really supporting that guy or any of that, but when that ports over to gear, yeah, I think you hurt yourself more than me saying that my set is the winner between my goal and Crin's goal, which were both different, but it's literally my goal. So I would say the Jupiter is a better set. I would say that if you think the Jupiter potentially has too much bass, that you ought to be looking at the Fearless Dawn instead of waiting for something to come in at around 2K. Newer is not better. They're not reinventing the wheel here. Now let me go ahead and delete this, and then, to nobody's surprise, the Origin versus the Jupiter, and my own set is going to be the Champ. When I put this together, I thought this could possibly happen, but I really didn't consider. I did one version of this before, and then I forgot to put the Odyssey in, and I put that in. So this is the bracket. It's extremely biased. You can argue below about sets that you would have done differently, which is fine, because this is literally my opinion using my library. And I also know things in the background, but I didn't let that really get involved because the Night Oblivion literally made it to the end, which is kind of proof that that drama stuff doesn't really stick when it comes to ranking because people can see what's going on. So go at Dog's Bargain. Comment below this video. The Jupiter, my own last final copy, I already gave away all my earphones. The Jupiter is one that I have. I'm going to give it to somebody that comments below this video and subscribers, supports both of my channels. Thank you very much. You don't have to subscribe, but that's how I get to pick it the way I want to, and I'm going to do that. Give the video a thumbs up if you genuinely like it. Comment is kind of like how I'm going to go literally pick the comment and check if you're supporting on both channels, and then I will send the Jupiter to you. Next video is going to be the next video is going to be a review of the Thea audio, and then I'm going to do some more brackets because I kind of like this, and then kind of nail down how to do it. That's it. I'm out. Let me go ahead and turn this bracket off and then shut this down, and I am out.
Come